everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And this is the Hustling Sideways podcast, episode number, I believe, 56.
56. That sounds right. That sounds right. Yes.
Sounds right.
And we are in a different format right now because life happens, and I couldn't make it to Alan's house tonight.
Basically, yes.
Here we are. I guess it is in terms of life updates that everyone should know. Is I in the last 2 weeks have a new house and a dog. So that's a thing that happened. And now I'm just tired and poor is what it comes down to. But everything's fine. It's great.
Welcome. That's how this works. Yeah.
I feel like I became an adult like quickly with all of this. Like I was kind of just riding the coattails of my early 30s, and now I just all of a sudden switched, and here I am. So, and I'm living to talk about it, and I can't wait to go to bed.
I spaced out my house and then dog purchase, or acquisitions. You did not. So
I did not. They happened.
It's also obviously the first time that we've done the all Zoom format. Obviously,
it is.
I have done back and forth on Zoom. It's interesting because I have like my camera, but Jim is down off here somewhere for me. So I'm just kind of going with it.
Which is kind of how I usually am, even when we're in person, like in the show. I'm usually just kind of like off and in my own world. So this really won't be that different from what I typically come in swinging on.
Valid point. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of life things happening, a lot of good business things happening here as well. All sorts of fun stuff happening with the Hustling Sideways podcast as well. Mm-hmm. So content everywhere, all sorts of fun developments, including today's show, because we've got a great guest.
Yes.
We've got more podcasters talking podcasts, but there's a great story to go with it. I've already been a guest on the Spearhead Conversations podcast. So today we are welcoming on Xavier Mercado, host of the Spearhead Conversations podcast. Xavier, welcome.
How you guys doing?
Good. It's weirder when we have to do the applause thing. Like we don't have an applause.
Yeah,
but it's weirder when we have to do it remotely. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, there you go. We'll do that.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So Xavier, thank you for being able to come in and do the show with us today. We want to know a little bit about your background and what you do for a living. You just have to mention that, but then tell us a little bit about your background too, as well.
Yeah, man. Well, I was born in New York. I'm from the South Bronx, but I was raised in Milwaukee. Yeah, and just growing up in Milwaukee itself. I run a podcast. You were obviously a guest. Thank you for being on. And first and foremost, thank you for having me on the platform.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Glad to do it.
Yeah, man. I run a podcast. It's called Spearhead Conversations, and it's basically highlighting guests of Milwaukee and Southeast Wisconsin, and really just trying to shine a light on our city.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, we had talked a little bit after our recording, after our episode, and kind of just
definitely
you were telling me a little bit about how you got this thing started. I want to know though, the people need to know, like, what was kind of the genesis for having Spearhead Conversations, and what was kind of like the moment where you're like, I really should start this.
This journey of Spearhead was actually started through sobriety. With the pandemic hitting and everyone having to stay in place, there was a lot of reflection. And I'm married and I have 4 kids and they're getting older, but it put a lot of perspective at that point in my life. And really, just got to a point where you're doing the same thing and you're still in the same place as you were the year before. Yeah, I kind of was like sick of it. And I was like, I got to do something different. I've always been told about how I can captivate attention and hold conversations. And, through all that, this idea came through and, it started off as an idea and, year, yeah, a little over a year now. And it's bloomed into what it's become.
For sure. So just briefly, what is your full time? Because I actually didn't ask, and that was probably something I usually put in the intro.
Yeah, well, I talk about sobriety, but I actually merchandise for Beer Capital.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, yeah, bro.
Works
I
out.
feel like yeah, definitely. I feel like the guy on Cheers. You know, he's the owner of the bar, and
Yes.
he
Yes.
basically doesn't drink. But yeah, it's a cool job. It works side and side with what I do after I get out of work. You know, yeah, because I do all my interviews when I get out of work.
Right.
First
Yeah.
shift.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah.
I suppose that's kind of how we are too, right? You do have like a passion project that you do at night that you enjoy, that you want to dedicate your time to. And particularly, I mean, I guess with having 4 kids, a family, like, is it difficult to
Yeah.
find this time? Is it like, I can imagine this is sacred time
Oh
for you
yeah.
to go and record and do
Oh
your
yeah.
thing and go back into like the woes of family
Mhm.
life.
You know, it is. You have to work it through. You gotta, man. I'll tell you, being in a marriage, that we always have to have our time. But I mean, my family is pretty understanding of what I'm doing. The purpose behind what I'm doing is, you know, 4 kids. They range from 13 all the way down to 2.
Mhm.
Um, I want them to look at each story of success and all the many definitions of it. So it is at times it could be difficult, it could be strainful,
Mhm.
but you get this is life, and I guess I found a passion and a purpose, and we just through it, we adapt, we evolve, and my family loves it, I love them, and yeah.
Awesome. Would you say that you love what you do? I'm reading your shirt.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, this was made for me through
Yeah.
one of the guests. Well, their interview comes out tomorrow.
Awesome.
Geek Set podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I interviewed them probably 2 weeks ago, and I showed up and they made me a shirt, and I was like, I've been trying to find the reason to like wear it. And when Alan Alan hit me up, I'm like, yes, I can do it.
I got it. I love it. I love it. I asked you. So I'm a speaker, for high school and college students, and I wear
That's
shirts
awesome.
all the time that have little mini quotes on them. So I'm on the same vibe. I probably have like 10 of them, and I just switch off whichever one I want to wear that day, depending on how I feel. So
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
man. It's a true statement. I love what I do, and I'm doing what I love, and
Awesome.
it's awesome.
So you mentioned the focus of your Spearhead podcast is southeastern Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Like, is there is that's really the stories you wanted to tell? Have you interviewed anyone outside the Wisconsin area, or has it really been focused on this state?
This, part of the reason too was, being from New York, born in New
Mhm.
York. When I go back, the way Milwaukee's viewed is either your farmland or you aren't nothing. Like, so I kind of always wanted to combat that stereotype, and that's how I got it. But this first year is primarily just focusing on home. This is home. I really feel it's a special time for content creators. You guys, what you got going on at Breaking and Entering. I feel like I just want to hone into that, and really just platform that, and give people who really don't usually get voices to have that platform, to have that voice, and just show uniqueness in what they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think you said something really interesting when you're talking about showing your kids that this is what success looks like in all the different facets of it. That is interesting to
Yeah.
me because you do highlight creatives, you highlight people that, bring people together as well, which I think is hard to do,
Mhm.
especially in Milwaukee. Everybody wants to have their little bit of piece of the pie, but maybe doesn't want to like share that with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when you're finding guests, what is kind of like the criteria for you as finding like people that this to me is successful? Because they may not be like the richest person. I was on the show, so it's not the
Yeah.
richest person, but like what is kind of like the criteria for finding somebody that you think is an interesting like interview subject?
Community. what do you do to improve your community? You know, um, last night I did a reshoot of Alley Faith from 103.7.
Love Allie.
And oh yeah,
Good friend of mine.
she's a
Yeah, she's awesome.
sweetheart.
She's
Yeah.
awesome.
I did a reshoot her, and she has a foundation. And you know, when you get bigger guests like that, and they're so involved with their community and giving people like me a shot, that's kind of what it goes into. When I'm looking for a guest, it really what it boils down to. Okay, do you love what you do? Do you how are you involved with community? And you know, I always like to put a little story behind it to be creative with the way we present it. And just really, you know, those core factors, I mean, that says a lot. So you know, I'm not so wrapped up on like, yeah, you could be the biggest public figure out there, but it's really getting the underdog. Like I want to find the underdogs.
Yeah.
I did an interview with Philly Flyboy, and he put this out, and the way he said it was, you know, this guy he's a music director, and he works with some of the biggest artists you've ever heard of, but he's always tried to find the talent before the talent hits that peak. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, so definitely with that, just yeah, I kind of want to follow that, you know. Hopefully, you know, I give someone, you know, help someone out to get to a level up, you know.
Yeah. Well, I could tell, like, whenever people can answer a question like that really quickly, there's going to be some success that follows it. Like, I feel like a lot of times we ask folks, like, who do you look for? Well, I don't know, anyone. You know, you're like straight up community. Like that's it. That's the factor. Yeah. I think that's really important, and that goes into some. We've had, you know, obviously a lot of guests on this podcast, and oftentimes the people who are really driven by something are the most successful. And that's like, I could tell that there's a level of impact that you want to not only tell the story on, but also, you know, along the journey with people that do that. So I think that's really cool. And it's telling of how fast you knew that answer to that question. Because that's, you know, that's not, it's not easy to be grounded in that way and to be really driven by value. But it sounds like that is the theme of you bringing in people to know what are they actually doing out there, and why does it matter for Milwaukee in Wisconsin?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I think too, you know, with the diversity and the people I've had on the platform, in the times that we're in right now, it's very chaotic. It really is. And you know, that's really just matters. You know, when I first started this, you know, you think of ideas that everyone wants to do a podcast, everyone wants to do that. How are you going to set yourself apart? You know, so yeah, community by far.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. Now I have to ask, did you have any kind of background in like media or like, you know, like being on camera or, you know, radio or anything like that prior to getting the idea to start Spearhead Conversations?
No. I always used to play around with it. I always used to play around. There's a lot of things that I cringe that I didn't shoot for, like, till the age of 32. I had so much potential, and you know, I go back to the whole sobriety. Alcohol was truly a potential blocker. And you know, how quickly things, when you're on your path and you're on that road, and if you're on the right one, things just fall together. And that's what's driven me to carry my sobriety and not even want a sip, because everything since I've started this it's been working. So, as you know, and I'm not saying that there isn't highs and lows, of course there is, but yeah, for the most part, just I never had a background for it. Although I wanted to do acting, I wanted to do music. I write music, that I can say, you know. And I do have some 2016 tracks up on SoundCloud. You can check it.
Let's go.
But let's go. No, but it never took off. No, surprisingly, this platform has really been it's been an experience in the time that I've done it, and I'm just trying to stay on the momentum that I have.
For sure. What, obviously dealing with, alcohol issues and things like that, that affects family, that affects a lot of things. What was your family's first thought when you were like, I'm going to start a podcast? Because especially now, like, everyone has a podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So were they thinking like, oh, this is just something we don't know, what this is, kind of thing? Like, what was their kind of reaction when you were like, I'm going to do this?
There's one in particular that you asking this question. There's one in particular, and I won't say who the person was, but when I had first started it, I was at a family gathering, and the person had said, "Oh, he's doing a little podcast," and that just oh my gosh, and it's because so many people say, hey, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get out here and do a podcast, and then no, not to that point. When they said that, I had already invested in my board. I had already invested in my equipment, and one of the biggest things for me is taking pride in doing that. I got to shout out my wife on this, because none of this platform would be possible without her believing in me. But I take pride in that, and one of the biggest things for me is quality. So any time that I've been able to put back into this, it's been there. So that, when I heard that, oh, it's just his little podcast, I'm like, no, now I got to show you. Like, I've always been well known around the city as this smiley guy. He could talk. He's in with the crowds, but to this point, I never got to this point. And when I got to this point, it came together, man. Passion is crazy. I've never known passion like this, ambition like this, and it's kind of like now that I have it right here, I want to hold on to it and just simply push it.
Yeah. You kind of remind me that the guy that said that at your family gathering, that reminds me of The Last Dance and like Michael Jordan being like, I took that personally. I'm ready.
Yeah,
to go. That's it's like this is like you got it. Sometimes it takes one comment like that to be like, I'm going to show you. Like I'm going to do this thing and make it a lot bigger than you could think. I've had people tell me about that, in my speaking life. Like, oh, how was your like, do you give speeches anymore? I'm like, yeah, I'm really damn good at it. Like, like it's it's a career, So that's I'm with you. Like it's fun to, it's like it's a level of motivation when you can get that, and then your passion just goes for it, which is once you do something you really like doing, that's how it happens, and then you continue it, you pass it along to people, and you have more people come on, and you create a community, and that's a full A equals B and B equals C. That's what it comes down to. So I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, before you get into the thing, you can edit this, right?
Yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
see the stuff coming across the top screen of mine?
I don't know why. What's up?
Would that show in the interview? Because I forgot to put the don't disturb, and the stuff keeps on. So
I don't see anything coming. I don't see anything coming down. You're good.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
just to make me
no, you're fine.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it off real quick.
Do
not disturb. Okay. Thank you.
You're all good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Let's get back into it. My bad.
Oh no, you're okay.
No problem.
Okay, so I think one of the things too, I don't know what the exact number is, but I've heard something for sure along the lines of like most podcasts don't make it past like 10 episodes, because it is that kind of like flash in the pan thing to some people where they're like, I'm going to do it. And they want to see instant gratification, and they want to see it, they think they're going to become like a mega star overnight kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about putting your first couple episodes out. I don't want to, put this on you, but I assume that they may not have done what you initially thought. I know at our podcast, we were like, well, it is what it is. We're going to put it out.
Yeah.
But what were your like reaction when you first saw that?
I will answer this. So like, I've never, the advice that I could give to someone is you start this up. Yeah, the numbers weren't there. And, but that has never been the focus of what it is, So it's not, it did bother me in the beginning. But at this point, going forward past that, if you focus on that, you'll derail. You'll derail. I've been releasing episodes every week since August 4th. Every week. And, how many people listen to it or watch it to it? I'm just happy it's being put in front of people, real people. So, yeah, man, in the beginning, it was hard, man. Oh my God, man. It was hard, but now, it's growing and I don't like, for me, I try not to pay attention to that because it's a distraction at the end of the day. I know the message I'm trying to project through this platform, and it's just, yeah, man, just focusing on the goal, just getting these stories out.
I remember texting family members being like, "Hey, can you guys just like watch this or listen to this episode? We want to go from 3 to 4."
Right?
Yeah, man.
That was It's
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
it's fun. Yeah, to your point, like focusing on that, it can really derail things quickly. It's like if you're making it for viewership, then you're probably not gonna survive. Like just make it because you like it, and then hopefully other people like it. And if they don't, you're still making something you enjoy. So. And to me, that's the focus.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely. Like, yeah. Go ahead,
But,
Alan. My bad.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, too, like you never know how it works. Like maybe if you put one out, maybe it doesn't do amazing numbers right away, but then like you hit that one person that needed to hear that. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like you have somebody that might, hit you up and be like, "Hey, I really liked your episode with this person. Like, I'm really glad that I got to hear their story." You know what I mean? So like maybe, it's a quality listen kind of thing,
Well, it's kind of with your guys' platforms. Think about like, over at Breaking and Entering, you're giving people voices, people that most won't give a shot. Like, and that says a lot. Like, it does matter. Music is a universal language. And the way it touches people, it's kind of what you just said, Alan. It's like at that one moment, someone needed to see this or someone needed to hear this. It's that's the beauty of the work that you guys do, I do, and really it's just trying to. Why did I start this? And remaining true to that. I mean, all it takes is one. All it takes is one, and then guess what? You're gravy. And then all that work that you've put in the past, that gets gets the recognition it deserves. So
for sure. Absolutely. I mean, certain episodes of this show do better than others, and we're like, we're just, or like if it's shorts or something that we put out on like YouTube or whatever, like we'll just be like, oh, like this happened. You know what I mean?
But and like, sometimes you don't realize what content's going to stick with folks. Like there's a topic that you may not have realized hit a chord. That's my favorite part. I mean, Alan, you and I had that the other day. Like leadership topic that all of a sudden people liked a lot, and I don't even remember saying it. Like I don't even remember the conversation, but I'm sure, we just went off, and that's fun. But like it's because we had passion behind it. Like this was cool, and people enjoyed it, and it's 15, 20 seconds, and you just keep making it, keep putting it out there, and people will find it.
Off that, what you just said, like I had an episode and it was a group episode. It was called Barbellas. And this is like in the beginning, and I was nervous for the episode. I was like, oh, this probably isn't gonna get. It ended up being the second most streamed episode on the platform, under under Kyle Olson. He's an Emmy winner that I went to high school with, and I used to pick on this dude. And when I was having my reflection period, I called him, apologized to him, and you know what I mean. And next thing you know, hit him up to do an interview. He did it, but that type of success of being an Emmy winner, and then you have this small shop on the South Side, this hair salon slash nail parlor.
Slash
Basically,
studio.
yeah, slash record, and just to get that type of streams in, like people really felt the story. So yeah, it's man, you never know, you never know.
That's great.
For sure. Has there been anybody whose like story has really like surprised you? Like somebody that you brought them on and you like started talking to that person and then you were like, oh my God, this is way more than what I thought it was gonna be. Like,
Yeah. Me during my early 20s, it was a really crazy period in my life. Actually, there was an incident that altered my life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And GPL Magico. I don't know if you guys have ever heard his music, but he's
yeah,
on the South
he's a
Side.
rapper. Yep.
Yeah, yep. So shout out to GP. We in our early 20s were going with the same crowds, and um there was a incident that happened, but based off of that, with his interview, um he was born in his family's house, and he basically, the way he grew up was on a farm, and there were no Pampers. It was cloth type of, undergarments. But him talking about farm life and growing up in Mexico, that kind of reality that most will never understand, or never, I never knew that about him. And I had known him for so long, and it was real humbling to know that you came from that, and now you're in America, and you're doing your thing, you're doing your passion, and you know what I mean. There was just a lot of volume behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
His story, his story and upbringing, it really touched me.
Mm-hmm.
That he was raised that way, and just to that brings so much volume to someone's character. And
That's great. That's great.
just when you yeah, man, it was like that threw me off. Like when he said that in the interview, I was like, holy cow. Here I've grown up over here, I've never lived that type of life, but that the type of appreciation that comes through that, I appreciated him more for even opening up like that. It was really uh it was really a moment for me knowing him so long.
For sure. I mean, I think whenever you get to sit down with somebody and talk with them long form, like we do here, like we do, you do on your show. I think
Yeah.
it's amazing because we are so disconnected even when we're together now. Like people, like when you think about it, like, yeah, I'm hanging out. Let's say I'm even hanging out with, my friends at the bar or whatever, or bowling or whatever. We're hanging out, but we're like on our phone or we're like watching the TV or whatever. But when you're in that like one-to-one with somebody where you're actually talking to them, I think that's when you're like, this is where I'm going to learn the most about this person. And like you said, somebody that, you kind of hung with for a long time, never knew that backstory until, it was time to learn it. And you learned it in a face-to-face manner like that. So that's crazy, but that's awesome.
Yeah, man. It just tells you that, you know what I mean, we come from all a different type of walks of life. And when I hear stories like that, I appreciate it so much, because you know what, you trusted me with that, and you spoke about it, and that speaks volumes to me. So like I said, I shout out to GP. I appreciate him. I'll always be a fan, and those are the type of stories that really get me to keep pushing with what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So when you first started Spearhead, looking to now where you're at, what's like the biggest thing you've learned, either about yourself or about the guests that you've had on, like a takeaway that maybe you surprise yourself with an ability to you know, just generally as it has moved along, what's the first thing that comes to your mind of like, huh, like that's a really cool takeaway.
You aren't alone. And when I say that, it's when I say you aren't alone, it's more of the we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
We all are connected on a level that we want to be understood.
Mhm.
And what comes out when a person feels like someone takes interest in that, there's a true beauty within that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I can't explain the feeling when that comes out, but that's what it is, man. And what I've taken away from this platform is not only through that, but what I can do is as me. Like to this point in my life, I never pushed myself this way, and you know, I always talked with I always spoke words, but they had no actions behind them. So to be at this point in my life and really be able to, you know, push myself in the way I've been pushing, you know, I started this off less than the actual platform in the launch has been less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you know, being in a family member's sunroom and looking out and being like mid conversation, veering off, looking outside and being like, I could do this, to now like on the 24th, I'm going to be on 103.7 interviewing or being interviewed. Um, it's moments like that you got to appreciate, but it's there's no boundaries to where you can take something when you truly believe in
I love that.
it. Yeah.
That's the mic drop moment right there.
Right?
Yeah, don't
Exactly.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
For
being
real.
said, where do you want to take things from here with Spearhead? Where you want to, I mean, to the moon is an answer, but where do you want to go with it?
Yeah. You know, man, I've really been humbled by guests like you coming on and just people believing in it. So I just want to keep pushing these stories. Um, yeah, I'm out for Giannis, as you know you should be.
Aren't
But
we all?
aren't we all? But you know, I just want to I want to bring a sense of pride to this city. I love this. I love Milwaukee. I love Southeast Wisconsin, and I truly want to be that platform for the underdog, and that's the mission. That's always been the mission. And I just, you know, I hope people. I want to show people like you believe in yourself. Don't let others' projections uh, be put on you. And man, it's I don't want to sound cliche when I say this. We only have one life, but it's like you have a purpose here, and just you got to find it, and you got to stick with it and embrace it, and just really truly just shine your light.
Absolutely.
There you
Love
go.
it. That being said, if people want to get in touch with you and follow this journey that you're on and the guests that you have on and the amazing people that you have on that are not me, just other people, um, where do they go ahead and find Spearhead Conversations? You know, follow it on social.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Spotify, Apple. I'll drop this on the world. There's a website being made.
Awesome.
First day of summer, it'll be dropped. It's spearheadmke .com.
Awesome.
It's being built as we speak, but those are the platforms you can reach me at. My distributor, podbean.com. Yes, I started from the bottom, now we're here.
There it is.
But definitely, you know, we're on those platforms, man. And like I say, we release content weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Audio, we release one or two visuals a month. And yeah, we're there's no slowing down at this point, but we're just we're on a mission, and I want to shout out before we end this, you know, as much as you see the face of Spearhead, this is impossible without Stephen Van Plume, my visual editor, Nick K, because I can never pronounce his last name. but he's a videographer behind the camera, and Michael Cooper, who's the audio technician. And without them, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So shout out to my team. But yeah, dude, it's a bunch of people who have a passion and a love for the message we're trying to bring to the world. And yeah, man, that's awesome. And I appreciate you guys bringing me on here, man. I truly feel honored.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that we could, help maybe advance what you're doing too. And I'm looking forward to seeing more from you, and only up from here. I'm into it. So thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, man.
So thank you. And if you're listening to or watching, welcome. If it's your first time, if it's your not first time, welcome back. You can find us all over the place. We're Hustling Sideways. We can get this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also find us. We are on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. All over the place there too. We're Hustling Sideways everywhere. If you want to be a guest on this podcast as well, you can send us an email. We can obviously do Zoom. We can make it work. It is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. Keep in touch with us because we have a lot coming out this summer, and I'm really excited for a lot of the stuff that we have in the works. And Jim, via another room,
keep on hustling.
We'll see you next week.